LED KLN is a student organization at the University of Carolina operating with the intention of grooming our undergraduates into professionals. So at LED, we provide our members with the skills and the competencies that they need to have when entering into the corporate world. Business School 2022 is another initiative of LED KLN this year, which is specifically designed for the undergraduates to mold their careers with the inputs from the corporate world. This is an open invitation for you guys. Stay tuned with LED and join with us. You will get the best experience in your life regarding career guidance. And stay safe. LED KLN is a student organization at the University of Carolina operating with the intention of grooming our undergraduates into professionals. So at LED, we provide our members with the skills and the competencies that they need to have when entering into the corporate world. Business School 2022 is another initiative of LED KLN this year, which is specifically designed for the undergraduates to mold their careers with the inputs from the corporate world. This is an open invitation for you guys. Stay tuned with LED and join with us. You will get the best experience in your life regarding career guidance. And stay safe.
Ladies and gentlemen, a very good evening to everyone who is here with us today. Here, in this lovely evening, we are about to experience a valuable session organized by LED KLN Business School 2022. I'm Samadhi, the moderator for today's session. First, let's have a brief idea about LED KLN and the Business School. LED KLN is a student-run body that operates with the concept of leadership, empowerment, and development. The main motive of LED is to open more and more paths for undergraduates to reduce the gap between the corporate world and them. Business School consists of mainly 3 phases. So, we have already completed the first phase, which consisted of a series of sessions called Know Your Way on IT, Management, and Entrepreneurship. So now we are in the second phase, present the best in you. Here we focus on CV and e-portfolios, career growth, and how to face an interview. As the final stage of business school in phase 3, we have allocated a day for you to face interviews in front of well-known personalities from the corporate world. And here we are going to make an important announcement. Those who are willing to face interviews in this final stage of business school must submit their CVs before 6th of February. Otherwise, you may miss this valuable opportunity. So, we kindly request you to submit your CVs as soon as possible with that. So, as the second session of phase 2, we are about to experience present the best in you career growth. Before moving further, to commence the event officially, I would like to invite Anushika to welcome our guest speaker and the enthusiastic participants who are here with us today. Anushika, over to you.
Thank you, Samadhi. A very good evening to everyone. It is an honor and a privilege for me to welcome you on behalf of LED KLN. First and foremost, I would Vander, Assistant General Manager, Human Resources, Ideal Finance Limited. Welcome to the session, madam. Then, I would like to welcome our beloved Executive Board members of LED KLN. Finally, on behalf of Organizing Committee of Business School 2022, then I would like to welcome all the enthusiastic participants who are here today with us to experience this amazing session. So let's move straight to the informative session. We hope you all would grab the maximum out of this at the end of the session. Over to you, Samadhi.
Thank you for that warm welcome, Anushika. So, without wasting your valuable time, let us begin the informative session. At the same time, we kindly request you to mute yourself so that the session won't be interrupted. And also, we have allocated time for Q&A session at the end so that you can ask any question you have. So, Rochelle, over to you.
Good evening, everyone. Happy Independence Day to all. Samadhi, Chamatka, and the team, thank you very much for having me with you this evening. It's a pleasure for me to connect with all of you and share my experience as a professional, as an HR professional who actually works in the corporate sector, which wants to hire young, enthusiastic people like you. So, like Chamatka said in the introduction, we in the corporate sector, as well as you students, sometimes we see gaps in our expectations. The expectations that you have from the corporate sector versus the expectations that we have in the corporate sector from those who join us. So I think today's session will be a bit of an sort of experience for you to get a good understanding about what we in the corporate sector expect. So I'm open for questions. We can also, you can share your concerns or questions at the end of the session, but feel free to talk to me at any time. So without much ado, I will move on to the presentation. So I hope all of you can see my screen.
Yes, Rasha, we can.
Okay, so I will proceed. So I'm pretty sure that most of you know this picture and this story when you see it, right? This is Alice in Wonderland, and the cat on the tree is the Cheshire cat. So one day when Alice was now lost in the Wonderland and walking, she came to a fork on the road, right? And the cat was on the tree. and she asked the cat, which path should I take? Right? And the cat answered, where do you want to go? Alice said, I don't know. And then the cat said, then any path will take you there. Right?
Recording in
when
progress.
we talk about career,
This meeting is being recorded.
When we talk about career, when we talk about work life, it's always a path that we take. So you, me, all of us need to know where we want to go, where we want to end up in order to make our journey there easy and successful, right? So today we are talking all about that, which is walking down or taking the right path. So that's my session today. I am going to cover certain topics about how you find the right opportunities for you, how you mold yourself to be the best in the jobs that you pick. Now I understand that you all had sessions about career guidance. You will have mock interviews coming up next week. So there are certain things that you should also ask your employers in order to find the right place for you. So I'm going to discuss a little bit about that also in the session today, right? So the first thing I want to ask you is, what do you understand is a career, right? Now you are facing a job interview. So is it that you are only looking for a job, or is it that you are looking for a career, right? There are jobs in the market, right? There can be HR jobs, there can be finance jobs. You can be an HR executive, you can be a finance executive, you can be a marketing officer, you can work in an organization as a software engineer. So all of those, I think, in my understanding, are jobs, right? But what is a career? A career is actually someone's occupation which makes up their life's work, right? So if you are in the field of HR, you will have several jobs, but the progress of those jobs, starting from the time that you enter to the workforce to the time that you retire, that progress is your career. So if you remain in the same job for the rest of your life, you wouldn't say that you had career growth, right? So having a career is about growth. It's about realizing yourself, finding the job or the occupation that you like. Now, careers can change with time. You can start off as a marketeer and then you can move into HR. You can start off in engineering and then you can move into marketing. So a career always grows. It changes with time and it changes with you. Once you grow as a person, you will always find that the opportunities or the chances you get to grow in your career are much more. So the first thing I want you to decide before you go for these interviews is whether you want to have a job or whether you want to have a career, right? So if you are looking now, when you go in, are you looking for a job or you want to move up the ladder? You want to progress in your career. Are you focusing on something short term or long term? Now, don't misunderstand. We will often have to take on short-term jobs for a long-term gain. Now, for example, when I was an undergraduate, I worked for an organization on a temporary basis. That helped me to finance my studies, as well as it gave me the opportunity and the time to focus on my studies. Now, my first degree was in human resources, but the job I did then had no connection to human resources. It was a job, something short term, but it supported my long-term career plan. So at any stage in your life, you have to figure out what is it that I'm looking for right now, right? Am I looking for something to support my career, right? Is this a path for me to take on long term, or is this something short term that I'm working on, right? So if you work hard for something that you don't care about, it's going to be stressful for you. You will not enjoy what you do. When you get up in the morning, you will not want to turn up at work, right? But if it's something you love, if it's exciting, if you are passionate about it, right, then you will enjoy your work. So who wants to get up every morning and say like ayo adanam bear, right? So if that is your thinking, I think you are now the time to decide for you, where is it that you want to go, right? So in a career, there are going to be stages. You're not going to start off, find your dream job, right, your dream career, and be at it for the rest of your life. The beginning stage of your career is the exploration stage, which you guys are in right now, right? So you are almost finished or finished with your degrees, right? You have picked a path. I'm pretty sure all of you, when you selected your degree and your specializations, you would have thought, okay, I'm going to do this. You have picked a path, but that doesn't mean that you have to stick in this path, right? This is the stage for you to explore. What a degree gives you is it expands your thinking, right? If you have earned a degree, it develops your thinking to a certain level, right? It gives you knowledge now, which you need to go and put into practice, right? The second stage of your career is the establishment stage. That is the stage, ideally in another 2 to 3 years, where you have explored the options, explored the different areas that you want to work in, and you establish yourself. This again is very important, because now you are picking the area or the career that you want to grow in. Of course, you come to a stage in your mid-career life, right, which a lot of us in the corporate sector face, where we come to a certain level and it becomes hard for us to go above that, right? That's the stage when a lot of people decide to do an MBA or to sometimes switch careers, right? Professionals go become entrepreneurs, right? You move into careers when you come to a certain level, sorry, from which you can't go up from, right? Then finally, you have the late career stage. That is when you're in your 50s, right? Then you decide, okay, how am I going to retire? What's going to be my retirement plan? And then you have the decline stage, which is after 55. You know, most in Sri Lanka, I think mostly we work till now the retirement age has gone up till 60. But most people prefer to retire at 55, you know, then enjoy their life or whatever from thereafter. I'm sorry. Right. So you need to, and the most important thing in this career stages are, once you establish yourself in a career, you need to have a thought in the back of your mind, what's going to happen to me mid-career? What's going to happen to me late career? Now you're going to say, okay, now she's gone way above what she needs to talk. We have not even picked a job. You know, how are we going to think about late career? I'm still 25 years old. I'm not going to worry about what I'm going to do when I'm 50. Now, I am pretty sure that's the thought that's running in the back of your head, right? But when you're picking your careers, think about this. Will this career take me to a comfortable life when I'm in my mid-career, when I'm in my late career? Right? So you need to think about all of that. There are a set of questions that you need to ask yourself and your employer, you know, when you're selecting careers. I'll come to that. But at this stage, I want you to understand that your career has to move, it has to progress, it has to go up. So far, have I made myself clear? Do you have any questions? Am I too fast, too slow? Can I have some feedback before we move on? How are things going?
I think, Rochelle, it's very clear so far, but you have told everything. So I think it's better to move.
Right, great. So we'll move on, right? So like I said, the first stage that I talked about is the exploration stage, right? This is the stage that you are in, you're almost done with your degrees, in your final stage. This is the time for you to go and take up different experiences, right? Now, I really appreciate the students who are leading this LED club, right? Now, you are taking experiences. You are taking management experience, really, which you would get if you are working in a company, right? Now, you have a limited set of resources. You need to, delegate work. You are being managers right now. So always take up opportunities like that. Do internships, right? A lot of people are reluctant to even try an internship, which is a little bit outside their career or outside their degree scope, right? I find a lot of management students, right, or a lot of, for example, finance students, right? They are very reluctant to take up an internship in an administration department or an operations department, right? But what happens is when you take up something which is a little outside your scope, you learn something new, right? I'll share an experience of mine. When I was in my last year of my degree, I had to apply for internships, and unfortunately, I couldn't find one in HR. My degree was in HR, right? I also tried really hard to find an internship in HR because I thought, that's the one that's going to, help me. If I don't get an HR internship, I will not be able to get an HR job thereafter. I was really worried, right? And then one of my lecturers said, it's okay, now you need to complete 6 months. Already 2 months have gone. If you don't do this, 4 months, you're not going to get your degree. So you might as well take up this. I got the internship in the operations department of an insurance service provider, right? It has nothing to do with HR. I was doing in an operational role, document management, that kind of a role, right? But even in that role, I learned how the business operation works, right? So I worked in the front line. I worked, with the people in the operations team. No sooner I graduated and I got an HR role, it was very easy for me to relate my HR knowledge with the work experience, with the experiences of the new company, right? And even there, when I was a management trainee, I got the opportunity to work in the sales and marketing teams, in the logistics teams, in all the other functions, right? So now as an HR professional, I really value that knowledge which I got about the business. That helps me really to relate to the business, right? So if you get the chance to take up an internship, even though it's a little different from your degree, a little different from your field, don't shy away from that, right? Take up short experiences, maybe for a week, for 2 weeks. Go to a different industry that you've not had the experience in. Try to get an opportunity for go on a 1 week work experience day. Talk to professionals in the field, right? Sometimes even things like reading the job ads carefully, right? If you go to Top Jobs, for example, you have like 1,000 different advertisements in different fields, right? Go look at those and you realize how big and how vast the job market is, right? Don't limit yourself to your particular discipline, right? Join groups, network, right? Like the LED club, there are so many other clubs, organizations, associations for young people. Toastmasters, for example, right? Road tractors, join those groups, meet other people. You will realize that for you to getting these experiences will really help you to understand what is out there in the job market, right? And try a short course maybe outside your field of study. Like I said before, right? Something a little outside your scope so that you widen your knowledge. You don't be, narrow sighted on what you are doing, right? Then we move, and don't always think, not all those who wander are lost, right? It's okay to explore. Don't be afraid to explore. There is a myth, or there is a thought among students that if you change jobs every year, every 6 months, people will think you're a job hopper, right? They will think you're a job hopper if you're 35 years old, right? 40 years old, and you're moving from one job to the other, right? Within 6 months, 1 year. But you guys are young. Now you are in the exploration stage of your career. So until you find somewhere that really fits you, don't be afraid to explore, right? Once you have explored, once you have seen what's there in the market, right? Once you find the career that you want, then it's very important to establish yourself, right? Your degree is just it's just the foot through the door, right? Having a degree does not guarantee you career success, because when in a job or in a career, it's not only your educational qualifications. I can tell you one thing, I use less than 25% of what I have learned in my degree in my current job, right? Everything else I have learned from my experience. So the degree helps you just to put your foot through the door. The next thing is to get qualified or learn or brush up on skills relating to the job. So like I said, small courses, short courses, online courses, certifications, right? If you are a finance professional, nowadays you talk about, for example, digital finance, right? E-commerce business. You talk about cryptocurrency, right? You have so many new avenues. What is this? Information security, right? You need to, it's not enough just knowing the basics right now, okay? So build your professional network. When you come into an organization, right? You will have to have your connections within the organization as well as outside, right? You get to know suppliers, you get to know your customers, so build that network, right? Very important thing to keep in mind when you are establishing yourself in an organization is to be open to take additional responsibility, right? If you limit yourself to the JD that they have given you, right, you are limiting your opportunity to go up on the career ladder, right? I have seen so many occasions where a lot of young, bright talent, right, they are afraid to take on an additional responsibility, right? It's okay to fail, right? It's okay for you to make a mistake, but it's not okay for you to avoid taking responsibility, right? So brush up on your skills, be up to date. What's happening in the market, right? If you're working in the finance sector, how is the market going on right now? What are the interest rates? And if you're working in a, let's say, IT sector, what are the latest developments? right? You need to be up to date and you need to focus. Your establishment stage is critical, right? Because that's the stage where you set the foundation for your mid and late career, right? So a lot of the time people talk about finding the right fit. Okay, so if you are a round peg, you need to find a round hole, right? So now when in HR, when we go to recruit people, right, we look at what is called the triple fit. Okay, the first thing we look at is the task and the talent fit. I'll give you an example, right? Imagine that I am looking for a software engineer, right? In order for me to find someone to be a software engineer, the first thing that that person needs to have is the qualification, the knowledge, and maybe experience in software engineering, right? That's the first thing that you look at. Now, I'm talking here from a recruiter point of view. Okay, I'm going to recruit a software engineer. So first thing I look at is whether this guy or girl has the qualifications, the knowledge, and the experience to be a software engineer, right? That is the technical fit or the task and the talent fit. The second thing I'm going to see is the person position fit, right? Which is a psychological aspect. Now, if you take a job like a software engineer, right, there are certain personal characteristics that that person needs to have. If you take someone in a marketing role, right, a customer service or a marketing role, it's best if that person is an extrovert, someone who's always open to meet new people, like who's friendly, talkative, right, who has good listening skills, right? If you have someone with poor listening skills, it's very difficult for that person to become a customer service or a marketing person. But listening skills may not be that important for a software engineer, right? For a software engineer, attention to detail is important, right? So here we are looking at the person and the position fit. So that is a psychological fit that we are looking at. The final one is the socio-cultural fit, which is the individual and the institutional fit. Okay. Now, in Sri Lanka, we have a variety of organizations. We have small, medium, large organizations, multinational organizations, local organizations, right? So if you look at yourself as a person, right, if you are a very conservative, someone who values are very traditional, right? If you work for a multinational organization, or if you work for a up and coming business which has a different organizational culture, which is different to your personal culture or personal values, you find a conflict there, right? This is something which is very hard for even for HR people to measure, right? It's very hard to find. I mean, when you go for an interview, when you ask that person certain questions about their background, when you ask them about how they, perceive the organization, you always get positive answers, right? This is the thing that HR people also find it very difficult to match. So from a recruitment point of view, when I'm trying to recruit someone, I look at these three areas. Now, if you are applying for a job, right, if you are going to come into an organization, I think you should also look at these three areas, right? First, you need to see if you have the skills and qualifications fitting for that role, which obviously when you are applying for a position, you will look at the vacancy advertisement, you will look at the, job description if it is offered in advance, and you will know that, okay, my knowledge, skills, experience match this job. Very easy, right? What is more difficult for you to understand, or for anyone to understand for that matter, is the psychological fit and the socio-cultural fit, right? So in order to, for example, if you are looking, what I would advise you to do is to first understand yourself very well, right? When you, and that is where all these experiences, these short experiences that you get matter, right? If you do work in a role which is outside your scope, right, which is outside your experience, you see whether you can adjust, whether you can fit, right? I'll give you a good example. There was a colleague of mine who used, her degree was in chemistry, right? So she joined a large, organization in Sri Lanka in the chemistry field, and her job was to do testing and whatever work to do within the lab, right? But my friend is a very outgoing, very social, extrovert personality, right? She's very smart, very bright. She's an extrovert personality, and working alone by herself in a lab, right? After some time, it was very stressful for her, right? Then she realized this is not the job for me, right? And then she took a big risk, right? She left her job and she got into marketing, right? Now she works for a company in marketing, right? But the products that she market, they have a sort of her chemistry knowledge comes, it's important for her, but her role is in marketing, right? Now she gets to meet clients, right? She gets to present her findings, right? Do presentations, talk to customers. She's in a marketing, rather business development role. So you see, she was able to understand that her personality is not something that likes to work in a laboratory, right? She likes to go out, she likes to meet people. So that's the same understanding you need to have about yourself, right? I'm in HR. Why am I in this role? Because I like it, because I feel I have the passion to work with people, right? In HR, my favorite area is training and development, right? I like to talk to people. I like to interact with them. I like to help them to understand what their skills are, what their knowledge, what are the areas they need to improve on, right? I don't like the HR services, the payroll, all those benefit administration. The admin part of HR is not my forte, right now. In my current role, I have to look after the whole scope of HR, but I've always had the knack for training and development. So likewise, I think you also, as people who are entering the job market, you need to know what kind of job you're getting into, right? Is this a job that requires you to talk to people? Is this a job that requires you to be very methodical, pay attention to detail? Is this a job that requires you to be strategic, have plans, have work with strategy, or work with execution, right? Are you going to be a people manager? Now, there's another thing in the corporate world. You have two kinds of employees. You have individual contributors and you have people managers, right? Individual contributors are the people who work well by themselves, right? They are given a task and they execute it. Then you have the people managers. They are the ones who manage maybe the individual contributors or the other staff in the organization. So there's nothing wrong in being an individual contributor or being a people manager. And both areas, organizations need both, right? A lot of people think that, when you go up in your career, you have to become a, people manager. You have to have a team of subordinates, right? There's no point having a team of subordinates if you can't manage them well and you don't enjoy what you do, right? So it's very important for you to understand what kind of a job you are going to get into, right? Then you come to the socio-cultural fit, which again is very hard to understand. I can help you a little bit there by taking you to the next slide, right? Right. So what to look for in your employer? And if you are going to be entering into the job role, now when you sit for these interviews next week, I want you to ask these questions, right? Number one, what type of culture do you have in your organization, and what are the values of this organization, right? Do you have a performance driven culture? Do you have a team culture, right? Do you have an individualistic culture, right? Do you have traditional values? Do you have modern values, right? What is the culture and the values of the organization? What is its mission, right? Do you care about the environment? What is your CSR policy, right? Ask and know about the organization, right? Then you look at the organization's brand name, right? Now, you might always think that a large organization with an established brand name is always best. No, right? Don't be afraid to work for a small organization. What happens in large organizations is you are bogged down with policies and procedures, which maybe come down from the head office, right? International. You cannot innovate, right? It becomes very difficult to innovate in an organization like that. But in smaller organizations with smaller teams, the challenges are different, but you always get to, work hands-on, right? You get your hands dirty, you get to innovate, you get to make changes in the organization. And the speed of operation is much faster in a small organization because the decision making is faster. You don't have, structures and, departments, clusters, lot of categories. So the decision making becomes much faster. Look at the reputation of the organization, right? Read about the history. Have they had any issues, right? Does this organization have a good CSR policy, right? What does the market or what does the people think about this organization, right? And then very important to look at the industry that you are getting into, right? Is this a growing industry, right? What are the trends? You can always ask your organization, what do you think about now? For example, imagine you are joining the, let's say, real estate sector, right? The real estate industry. So you need to ask the companies that are coming, what do you think is the future for this industry, right? Imagine you are applying for a job in an FMCG company, right? You need to ask them, do you think that this model of FMCG model will continue into the future, right? Right now, you would have experienced it with the pandemic, right? Everything became e-commerce. Everything buying, selling was done online, right? So you need to ask these companies, will this organization continue to grow in this industry, right? And look at the customer base. Where are their customers coming from? Is it a rich customer base, right? Is it worth investing your time to build the customer base for this organization, right? So you need to look at that. Then you need to look at the people within this organization, right? Who are the people working there? Are there any, who are the leaders of this organization, right? Are they industry leaders, right? Do they have the experience to run this organization? Do your research, right? Read about who the managers are going to be. Don't be afraid to look at the LinkedIn profile of the, CEO of the line manager. Ask about the organization's diversity and inclusion policies, right? What is their policy on hiring women, right? Uh, are there programs to ensure career growth within this organization for women, for minorities, for people with disabilities, right? Look at the organization's people policy, very important, right? Then you look at the development opportunities within the company. You need to ask them, are there talent pools, right? What are the leadership development programs in your organization, right? What's in this job? What's the career path going to be, right? Now I'm joining as a HR executive for training and development. Will this role evolve into something else, right? Will I get an opportunity to get into talent management, right? Now I'm taking a role in finance, right? I'm going to join the accounts team. Will I get an opportunity to look at risk? Will I get an opportunity to look at compliance? Will this role evolve is a very important question that you need to ask, right? Then the final thing, which is also extremely important for you to ask from the employer, is about the rewards, right? Whatever said and done, at the end of the day, you need to be comfortably rewarded for what you do, right? Don't be afraid to ask about the package, right? What is the salary offered? Are there fixed pay, variable pay? What are the allowances that I will get? Are there bonuses? How often do you pay these bonuses, right? What are the other perks, right? Do you offer any educational support, right? You need to ask these questions from your employer. Look at employers who can offer you these opportunities, right? Don't be afraid to ask these questions from the employers. Do your research before you go into an organization. Talk to people working in the company, right? Visit the company's Facebook page, LinkedIn profile, find out about the organization and then get into it, right? So when you get into an organization that has these practices, policies in place, it makes it easy for you to progress. It makes it easy for you to establish yourself in your career, right? I hope I am clear. Do you have any questions so far on what I talked about?
I think we can move ahead, Prashal.
Okay, great. Right. Now, one of the questions that, Chamatka, one of the organizers asked me in her email is to talk about how once you get into an organization, how you progress in that organization, or how do you establish yourself, right? The way to establish yourself in an organization is to create your, what we call professional presence, right? As a professional, once you enter an organization, you are no longer a student, right? You are a professional working for that organization. So it's very important for you to maintain that professional presence or professional nature in your work, right? So the first thing you need to look at is your appearance, right? When you go into work, how do you look, right? Your behavior, how do you interact with each other, and communication, right? How do you talk to others? How do you communicate via email or face to face? how you communicate at meetings, etc. Right? So this is the ABC, right? Just to take you through quickly, when you get into the corporate world, be very careful about what you dress and how you dress, right? You need to match the culture of the organization, right? And that showcases in your dress, in how you dress, right? So try to match the organization, to match its culture, match how the others are, behaving or dressing within the organization, right? It's always, you have to be unique, right? I'm not asking anyone to blend in and, get lost in the crowd. It's always good to have your own style, but you have to dress for the role that you are working for, right? So be mindful of that. Then, very important in your role is to meet and to network with those other people in the organization, right? Don't go in the morning at 8:30, sit at your desk till 12:30, get up, go have your lunch, come back, sit at your desk again. Don't be like that, right? It's always important to talk to almost anyone in the organization whenever you get the chance. If you do get the chance to go for a corporate event, don't be the one standing in the corner looking at everything, right? Talk to other people, right? Learn how to, give a professional handshake, how to introduce someone, how to give a business card, right? I'm not going to go into all that in my session because, that's another program altogether. And I think maybe other facilitators will talk about it, but it's very important for you to learn these skills, right? Learn online etiquette. Right now, everything's moving to online platforms. So learn how to manage, how to manage your presence online, right? In a meeting. Let me give you a simple example. When you're in an online meeting and someone's talking, right? If you want to ask a question, you can raise your hand. There's an option in most platforms. Or you can send a group message, right? It's better than disrupting the presenter. So learn the simple things like that so that it becomes easy for you to fit into the organization, right? Okay, then this is something I want you to do for yourself, right? One of the takeaways from our program today is to learn to do an elevator pitch, right? What is an elevator pitch? Is a quick description or quick introduction of yourself, right, to anyone you meet. So who are you? What you do? What makes you unique? How you do it, and who does it affect? Or, simply who are you? What do you do? I'm really passionate about what I do, and I want to get into this area, right? So imagine that you meet the chairman or the CEO of your organization in the elevator. And on the first floor, he or she asks you, hello, this is the first time I've seen you in our company. Who are you? What do you do? So you need to have a quick answer for that, right? But you can use this anywhere and anytime, and it's a good way to define yourself, right? So write an elevator pitch for yourself, practice it, right? Talk to each other, give each other your pitch and improve it, right? That's a good way to learn to introduce yourself to other people, right? So when you go into an organization, you're new, learn how to introduce yourself to others, right? So with all of these, right, it will depend on whether you get hired or whether you get ignored, whether you get promoted or whether you stay in the same place within your organization, right? So it's very important to, look at yourself not just as a graduate, right? Think of who you want to be in another 5-10 years, right? So imagine that I'm the Cheshire cat asking you, where you want to go. Now you think that you're Alice and answer to yourself, right? This is where I want to go in my life. This is where I want to go in my career, right? Right. Now I'm coming to something extremely important for you in two aspects. One is to find a job, and the other one is to make sure that you have a good impression or sustain yourself in the job that or career that you find, which is social media, right? Now, for example, LinkedIn is a great platform for young students to be in, right? But unfortunately, I don't see a lot of undergraduates creating LinkedIn profiles. Of course, you have Facebook and Instagram, but a lot of companies publish advertisements on LinkedIn, right? You meet a lot of professionals, people, industry leaders on LinkedIn. You get to learn, you get to share your knowledge, share their knowledge. So I encourage all of you to get on LinkedIn, right? Be mindful about what you post on your social media, right? Especially when you are working, when you are a fresher in a new organization, when you are in the process of applying for jobs, there are a lot of organizations that now look at your social profiles, look at your Facebook profile, look at your Instagram profile to see what I called earlier, the socio-cultural fit, right? So in order to find that fit, they look at those profiles of yours. So it's very important for you to make sure that you have that you manage your organization's impression about you. Right. So I'm coming towards the end of my presentation, and what I want you to think about yourself is to think that you are a brand, right? Now, there are so many brands, vehicles, or mobile phones, whatever, Apple or Samsung, right? You have brands. What kind of a brand are you, right? Know yourself. What are your values? What are your passions? What drives you? What motivates you, right? What is your personal image like, right? Am I a professional, right? Am I someone who's a leader, right? Am I a technical expert, right? What sort of image do you project, right? Develop your target audience and network, right? So if you are on LinkedIn and you are a job seeker, right? Now you are targeting organizations. So what do organizations look at? They look at your experience, they look at your qualifications, right? So focus on those. Build your online presence. Make sure that you have a good, strong online presence. On LinkedIn, get a recommendation from a few of your, maybe a lecturer, maybe someone in an organization you worked for, right? And look at experts, look at role models, right? They will help you to build your brand, right? So personally, I, as a student from my young days, I started off with the Leo Club, right? I got into Toastmasters. I had a passion for comparing, for training, for teaching, right? So that's how I built my personal brand, right? So I'm encouraging all of you to do the same. Find where your passion is, find where what excites you, right? What drives you, what motivates you, and get into that. Then once you build your brand, once you build your presence, growing in your career, it's going to be a pleasure for you. You're going to enjoy it, right? So you know where you want to go in 5 years time, in 10 years time, in 15 years time, where you want to go in your career, you will know, right? So that's it. That's what I wanted to tell all you guys. So today I was asked to talk about rooting your career, right? About career growth, about finding your place in an organization. So that's what I talked to you about, right? So don't be, in summary, don't be afraid to explore. Take chances, take opportunities. And once you find an opportunity, once you find a chance, establish yourself, make your brand visible so that you can grow in that field. So that's what I want to talk to you about. And now I am open for any questions that you might have.
Thank you very much, Rochelle. For the informative presentation, I think to recognize the real brand within ourselves. So we hope our audience grabs the maximum out of this informative and interesting session. So without further ado, then we will move on to the Q&A session. So it is time to clear all your doubts. Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any questions you have.
Okay, Rochelle, I have one question.
Yes.
So you have shared the photographs of you addressing so many people, a lot of crowd, and you have taken part in so many things like interacting with people. And also you mentioned in the beginning that not to be afraid to turn our career paths and all, and let alone being prepared for that. Sometimes we actually don't have the confidence level that we want to talk to people, like beyond our social net, like our comfort zone, right? So are there any tips for us, like how to build up that confidence level?
Okay. So I'll give you a personal tip, right? From my school days, now I know the first thing you need to do is to understand yourself, right? From my school days, from my young days, I was an extrovert, right? I had no hesitation or no problem in speaking to anyone that I didn't know, or go talk in forums. I didn't have that fear, right? But what I really lacked in my in myself was the sort of skill on how to plan a presentation, how to plan a talk, right? When you go on field and talk, on stage and talk to an audience, you can't just keep on talking for 10-15 minutes out of topic. You need to be very focused, you need to plan your speech, etc., right? So I learned that by getting into Toastmasters, right? I learned that through Toastmasters. I knew, when I was, looking for ways to improve myself, and when I got the opportunity to take part in Toastmasters, one of the things that really interested me in that program was the way that they helped you structure your presentations and your talks and your speeches, right? So I was able to build that gap in me, which really built up my confidence thereafter, right? So earlier, when I would not, when I found it difficult to approach larger audiences, once I had that knowledge, I was not afraid anymore, right? And after that, I really got into public speaking and talking at forums like this with the confidence that I got from Toastmasters, right? So the first thing what I suggest that you do is to really understand where your gap is, right? If it's a gap of confidence, you need to see take chances, push yourself a little bit in order to build that confidence. If it's a gap of skill, you need to go and learn and improve your knowledge. Sometimes you have a gap of opportunity where you just don't, go and put yourself in places where you get that chance, right? Then you need to go and find opportunities for you to speak, right? So there are always ways that you can improve, but you really need to find where the gap is, right? That's my first advice to you. Once, like, when you're sick, right, when you go to a doctor, the doctor will ask you like 1,000 questions, right? And then he or she will find the root cause, no, right? So you give the medication to the root cause. So that's what you need to find out. What is the gap that I have, right? I want to go to I'm in point A, I want to go to point B. So what do I need to get there? So if you have a gap of confidence or, gap of opportunity, skill, especially when it comes to public speaking or improving yourself to, speak, try programs like Toastmasters, right? Take up maybe working for now like y'all are doing, get involved, do sessions like this, don't be, if someone asks you to be the moderator, you be the moderator. You might have a few hiccups here and there, but you learn, right? I hope I'm clear and I answered your question.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much.
Right.
Okay, so I have got another question for you, Rachel. How can we connect? So I have another question. This question is, how can we connect to the organization's goal as an intern and newly appointed employee? Are there any tips to adapt according to the organization's culture? I got this question from one of our participants.
Okay. When you maybe join as an intern, right? I've had the same experience. When you go in first, what they give you is mostly repetitive, monotonous work. When you go as an intern, lot of organizations give you maybe some data entry job, right? They will ask you to, process some files, get some information, do a research, right? Stuff like that. It's very unlikely that in the first month itself that you really get to do hands-on what you want to do, right? That's the reality when you go into many organizations. So the first thing that happens to new interns when they feel at the beginning that, they don't get that exposure, they withdraw, right? They become reluctant to do the work that the organization gives them, right? So the first thing I suggest that you do is to, when you go into an organization, if they give you any work, any activity, you do it without hesitation, right? Then while you are doing those activities, while you're doing those work, talk to people who are already in jobs, in roles that you want to get into, which you want to experience, right? From them, you will be able to learn quite a lot about the organization, about the culture. The third thing that you need to really, if you want to fit into the organization, is to somehow connect with the leaders of the organization, right? A lot of companies will have programs where you get to, talk to the CEO, coffee with CEO, with the senior management, like that. If you get an opportunity, get into those programs. Even if there aren't programs like that, make some time to go and talk to the leaders. Maybe your line manager, maybe the head of department, right? Talk to them and ask them, so I'm here, how can I help the company? What is it that you expect from me, right? I like to grow in this field. So get there, talk to them, connect with them, because it's the management of the team, management of the organization that sets the organization's culture, right? So if you meet them, if you talk to them and you interact with them, then they will guide you on how to fit into the organization, right? So, and don't be afraid in any way to take up whatever responsibility you get. Don't be afraid to ask for help, right? But the best thing that you can do if you want to fit in, if you want to learn an organization's culture, is to talk to the leaders of the organization. Somehow find the opportunity to do that. I hope I answered your question. It had two parts. Did I answer your question?
Yes, Rachel, I think it's very clear.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, we would like to remind our enthusiastic participants, if you have any questions, please free to unmute yourself and ask, or if not, you can use even the chat box.
Participants, I think maybe they are waiting to enjoy their Independence Day evening, which we have taken time off from them.
Okay. Right.
One more thing that I'd like to add, right? I mean, if you do have any questions, if you want to, I mean, later on, even you can maybe shoot me an email. I think Shamatka has my email ID. If you get any questions later on, maybe you can compile them and share them with me. I'd be glad to give any feedback even after this program is over. Take the maximum use of the interviews that you're going to have next week. I will share this slideshow of my organization. One of the things that you have to ask your employer. So ask those questions from the interviewers when they interview you. Ask them those set of questions. I'll share the screenshot with Chamatka. Ask them those questions. I think that will be very valuable or very important for you to find the right organization. That will be helpful. So I'll share that with you. After this presentation is over, you can email it to the participants. Make sure to ask those questions in the interviews.
Thank you so much, Rachel. So thank you to our participants for your active engagement throughout the session. I think today everyone could gain a lot of knowledge related to their career development, how we should create our personal brand. So it's such an insightful and interesting session. Once again, thank you so much, Rachel, for sharing these insightful and your knowledge and experience with us. So,
my pleasure. Thank you. Sorry. My pleasure. Thank you very much for having me. And I wish all the participants and the LED Club all the success in their future prospects. Thank you.
Thank you so much again on behalf of LED KLN. So, as every good thing has an end, we have come to the end of today's session. So, I would like to invite our dearest member, Nadun, to deliver the word of thanks. Nadun, over to you.
Thank you, Samadhi. Good evening, everyone. I'm honored and lucky to have this opportunity to give a word of thanks on this special event. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to Rochelle Vendor, Assistant General Manager, Human Resources at Ideal Finance Limited for supplementing us with this sea of knowledge and for finding time for us between in your very busy schedules. And hope our audience got answer they were looking for. Thank you very much for that very informative and interesting session. Then I'm thankful to all enthusiastic participants for your presence here today, because without you, this event would not have been a success. Moreover, my heartfelt thanks to all the members of organizing committee for organizing such a valuable event today. Also, I would like to take this moment to appreciate the tremendous support of our executive board that always guide us through thick and thin. Finally, to all the members of LED KLN and everyone else behind today's event, I thank you all and hope you will keep supporting us throughout Business School 2022. Last but not least, don't stop when you're tired, stop when you're done. Cause is most see never made a skilled sailor. Best of luck with your upcoming battles. Thank you very much. Over to you, Samadhi.
Thank you, Nadun. Now, it's your responsibility to get equipped with all this information and show what you have learned in the upcoming sessions. Hope to see all your faces in upcoming sessions as well. Have a good night and stay safe. Signing off, I'm Samadhi Vijay.